feel we are at the end times. I assume I'm live, but my computer's very slow and I don't really know. I can only wait, I suppose. But in terms of what has been happening today, well, there's been a lot of news today. I've heard that Robert Kennedy Jr. is throwing his hat in the ring for the Democrat nomination. The Duran seemed to welcome the idea, but I think it would be better if they have somebody really rubbish, so that it's easier to be clear about our position if Trump doesn't win again. I guess if you're a Trump supporter, you would want his opposition to be as weak as possible, and you don't want too many people who look like they could win for one reason or another to divide the vote. I think it would be sad to give up on Trump, who's tried so hard. So I don't know what it is with people. I think a lot of people are quite stupid. Possibly I am stupid myself. I don't know. Time will tell, I suppose. Time will tell if I'm right to take an interest in these things. Where does it get me other than trouble? What is the point? All you do is discover disappointing person after disappointing person after disappointing person. But I take an interest in politics because I can't help myself. I really can't. Now I'm going to retitle this stream Today in Politics. Today in US Politics even. And it's about the law as lawyers play it with each other. Alan Dershowitz was very emphatic about how Rupert Murdoch should not have settled yesterday, and we are now concerned about lawfare being used to intimidate political opponents. So this is not something that is new to me. In fact, I predicted it. I predicted it to somebody who had suffered injustice, and I said to her that her injustice would be dwarfed by the even greater injustices that other people would suffer, names bigger than hers. So what is the point of taking an interest and even taking sides? It does seem also very hopeless. I suppose I'm doing it now because I want to make predictions to see if I'm right. And even if I'm correct in my predictions, I may not be able to, well, I might not be around to say, oh, I was right all those years ago about this, that, and the other. And when you predict something to somebody and then they unfriend you and then they claim not to remember the exchange after they unfriended you on Facebook and then they get their computer back and you know they're still not speaking to you. So we have to get used to the idea that there are so many things that we will never find out. There are things that we will never know. And I suppose that is the most terrifying thing about death. That there's just so many questions that you want to know. You want to know, what will happen to this story that you've taken such a great interest in. I know in the end everybody dies. But you still want to know. So I wonder to myself, what is it I'm doing wrong? Actually, I don't think I'm doing wrong. But people tell me, you should be doing this, you should be nicer to certain people, and I don't think so. Sometimes it's necessary not to be nice to make your point. I'm not a sadistic person. I try to be as nice as I possibly can until people behave in a way that is showing that they don't understand. And what don't people understand? They sort of understand what I'm trying to do, but they don't get, I guess, the whole picture. They don't get the entire strategy. They don't get the entire objective. My motives are questioned. Or people forget. People forget what is it I'm about. Now my strategy is very simple. I want to push the message of secular Quranism through using a pincer movement, so I get the ruling classes and the grassroots, the people at the bottom complaining about their ruling classes. Of course it is necessary for it to be done this way because, a pincer movement is more effective than a, what's the opposite of a pincer movement? Just I guess, a full frontal attack. Because a pincer movement necessarily means a movement directed, a military maneuver directed at two fronts, basically. And obviously it's more effective if it works. So I don't think it's necessary to be nice, and I think it is sometimes imperative that you're not nice, because you need to push the message through and you need to be remembered. If you're always nice, then, well, the thing is, people don't understand. They don't get the message, B, don't take it seriously if you don't push it hard enough, and C, well, they don't take you seriously as well as your idea. So there must be one must show, well, determination, sincerity, conviction, really conviction, and they have to be in themselves convinced of your conviction. If they think you're just playing around, not being serious, playing silly games, then of course they're not going to take you seriously. But I think I've been around for long enough for people to know, well, they'll conclude that I'm either mad or I really do mean business. And I mean business because I'm still convinced that I have the best idea around, and that most people still don't get it. And it's exasperating because my solution is really very simple, and it can be done. It can be done really very easily. So I will have to explain to you my path to power, my route to success, my way to glory. Of course, you must be able to visualize how you're going to succeed in order to pave the way to it. And obviously, these ideas floating around, well, the many competing ideas. So you need to find the biggest platform, so you can have the loudest voice, but of course there will be, so many bigger players and louder voices with far greater resources than you wanting to pump their message through at the expense of yours. And my message is a very simple one. And I think it's very, very easily understood. In fact, I'm sure most of you listening right now will know what I'm talking about, and you're sick and tired of hearing about it. But that is its power. It is already understood. What's happening now is people trying to forget about it, trying to unthink it, trying to suppress it. They wish to suppress it because they hate it, and they want it to fail, and they want it to be forgotten about. And I wonder whether my algorithms are being suppressed, or because, well, perhaps I've been boring. I accept that I might be perceived as doing so. So what am I doing here? What I'm doing is trying to explain myself, and I am, I guess, justifying my presence online. I'm telling you, I have a big plan, because I have a big idea, and it's better than all the others, because the others don't really deal with the root of the problem. And what they're doing, Alan Dershowitz and Paul Craig Roberts, talking about how the legal action for the indictment of Trump and the settling by Fox News of the action by Dominion against them is all bad news, and it's about the rule of law and how the legal process is now corrupt, how they've got, how did Paul Craig Roberts describe Bragg, a quota, I don't know, well he was saying that, he didn't, Bragg didn't get in because he was a good student. He got in because he was, he fulfilled some racial quotas, and he didn't get in on his own merits, and that Harvard law professors don't really teach the law anymore, and the legal process has been corrupted, and the Americans they probably won't be able to get themselves together to do anything because they are so hopeless and so stupid and weak. And he would be right. Because all that, all the sex and drugs and rock and roll of the 70s has played a toll on the American character and the characters of its, and the national characters of its allies, or, well, vassal states, really. So ultimately the problem is that of the value system, which keeps changing. So if your value system keeps changing, nobody really has a rooted sense of what they ought to be and how they ought to behave. And I've been saying again and again and again and again and again and again that the problem with the Americans is that they don't have a moral system, and they're not taking me seriously because I guess they're saying, well, we haven't had a moral system, we've never had an official religion, what are you on about? Or they will say, our religion is Christianity, what are you on about? We've always had that, and we're still Christian, look at our churches. And I'm saying, religion is more than just a community centre for you to congregate at on Sundays, and Christians should not be so narcissistic as to think that the direction of their society would change just because they choose to grace a different kind of church on Sunday, because they've gone from going to a Lutheran church to a Catholic church to a Orthodox church. It makes no difference. Why should it? Why should you going to a different church on Sunday make any difference to the politics of your country when really it's being controlled by corrupt judges, corrupt politicians, corrupt journalists who only purvey lies and disinformation and confusion? How then can I, a lone individual, change anything? That is really the question. And I'm saying I have the answers, but clearly I can't find anyone even prepared to discuss them with me properly. All I meet are damaged people, people who are not focused on the objective, or who may share my objectives but who disagree with me about tactics and strategy, or aren't able to communicate with others that clearly. And perhaps my own strategy has not been perfect. But I think I've done all I can to make myself known to all and sundry. It's not just the people at the bottom that whose attention I get. Well, I try to get the attention of everyone who's prepared to listen. So I don't think it's quite fair to call me elitist and just ignoring the people at the bottom. Of course, I see them all the time. They come and insult me all the time. So it's not like I'm in some specially protected bubble, talking only to the elites. I think I am probably known to the authorities. I suppose I have already been arrested. So I suppose my name's on record somewhere. I know they went round, arresting loads of people just to tell them to shut up, and it seems that they are doing that even more and more. Yes, I was reminded again about Andy Nowicki, who complained that an FBI agent knocked on his door for, well, hardly saying anything at all. And I was surprised too, because he really is so ineffectual and anodyne. And, well, if anybody's going to start a revolution, it's not going to be Andy Nowicki. But they paid him a visit anyway, and he was a little discombobulated about that. I understand that ideas are dangerous, and speech is, well, speech is words. Words are ideas. Ideas are dangerous, and those who purvey lies and disinformation want to keep us in uncertainty and confusion, and they don't want any clarity, because clarity would mean it would mean decision. An action, hopefully effective action, and resolution to all the issues that we face. I think we all know that if things are not fixed, things will get worse, and obviously I want it all fixed, and I think I have the answer, and I know that my solution is not welcomed, it's not liked, it's not popular, but I still think it works. And all the commentators are not getting it. They complain about things not going as well as they should be, but they don't really say what is truly the problem about the moral system, about the political system. So people don't understand. Oh, God. And so we are in a broken society where all the links between the people are not working, because really there should be there should be a system where, you report a problem and somebody's in charge and they get it fixed, or they get somebody to get it fixed. They report it to somebody. It's dealt with. It's not just completely ignored by all and sundry. And obviously there's something wrong if all you get are neurotic people who genuinely can't discuss the topic. They really can't talk about it at all, or are so hopeless they don't seem to understand what you're doing, or they assume failure, or they just want to do their own thing, which isn't particularly effective. Yes, I can understand them saying, well, what you're doing is not particularly effective, but I do have my methods. I can explain to people what it is I think I'm doing, and why am I focusing on this group rather than the other group, and what the message is for these people. But, well, if they don't cooperate, what can I do other than to try to change their mind and say, look, if the world is, this way, then you should do this thing. So, I guess I'll try and interview myself because nobody even asks me the questions I hope they ask. So how am I going to get people to do as I say? And I've already explained, they have to discuss my idea with another person, and the other person will in turn discuss it with another person, and then eventually enough people will know about it and then decide whether they want to actually do something about it. And of course, the very least they can do is talk about it to somebody else and go through the advantages and disadvantages of trying to make it happen. But nobody is really doing anything. They're talking about elections seriously, as if it were going to change anything. It is watching a car crash in slow motion, really. You would expect somebody much cleverer and stronger and more organised than me to be doing something, but they're not, because of all these distractions online that people, what I've noticed is a lot of people think that by posting stuff online they've done their political activism, and they don't have to talk to anyone in real life because they've just posted what they said, but behind an anonymous avatar, and not particularly persuasively or even grammatically. So I think it's absolutely necessary for the problem to be explained, and I think obviously it has to be explained simply, and I'm saying yes, it's very simple. You say, I say, that the problem is America not having an official religion, and, well, that's a problem. That's a problem. Can you get anyone to discuss it? I suppose most ordinary people just wouldn't be able to discuss it. They wouldn't know what religion is for. They wouldn't know. They just wouldn't be able to take the idea any further. Just not up to it. So it's a philosophical discussion that you would have thought that all these philosophers in academia would be able to discuss, but not a bit of it. I don't know what they think they're up to, but, certainly not discussing philosophical questions. What are they doing? I guess they're cowering in fear because they don't want to get cancelled, because academia is, well, overcrowded. There's so much competition, and if you don't toe the line, you're not going to be in academia anymore, and then what will you do? So many academics are very pliable and obliging about saying whatever it is that whoever is threatening or bribing them wants them to say. And so it's all bribery and corruption and denying the truth, and that brings me back to the subject that I started earlier today, which is about the nature of truth. And it seems so obvious to me that truth is sacred, even if it hurts our feelings, because it is necessary for us to correctly apprehend the world around us, to be able to solve our problems. And so if we deny a problem, then we won't be able to solve the problem quickly or at all. And if the reason why we ignore the problem is because of some unacknowledged issue, we should be honest with ourselves. But there's so much denial and not that much encouragement for people to face the truth. And the truth is rather unpleasant. It cannot be pleasant to acknowledge that your moral system is all wrong, and that Christianity is kaput. Yeah, I suppose my biggest problem is getting people to ask the obvious question. They just point blank refuse to engage and ask the obvious question, which is what I find so frustrating. The obvious question is, how are you going to get secular Quranism talked about? And I'm saying it's not that hard if it's competing with Christian nationalism. So today and yesterday there were all these trending notifications on Twitter saying that it is Christian nationalism. There was an article in a New Yorker, and today the same message was repeated. And I guess it must be the our ruling classes getting ready to kick out Christianity and equate it with white nationalism, and actually that's very helpful, because what could be a better replacement for Christian nationalism than secular Quranism? And anyone wanting to argue in favour of Christian nationalism will not find it very easy to defeat the arguments of secular Quranism. So that's all I have to say. Thank you to concurrent viewers.